Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and, well, the Sony Spider-Verse spin-off universe, the Spider-Verse without Spider-Man, whatever Sony called it, I keep forgetting the actual name of it, but the Sony's universe of Spider-Man characters, I think they called it, but I don't actually remember. Anyway, that franchise has, is taking a break, I guess, because I said Kraven's gonna be the last one for a while, not for good, just for a while. So I thought it'd be a good time to give you guys my ranking of the Sony Spider-Verse movies without Spider-Man. And yeah, I know how much people absolutely love this franchise, so I know how much you guys were looking forward to this. Yeah. Alright, so I do want to say this too. I personally thought that all of these movies had great potential to be something awesome. They just didn't live up to what they could have been. Even though a lot of people for multiple of these movies, pretty much all of them outside of the Venom, were like, well, this is a terrible idea in the first place. I didn't think so. I thought they could have potential to be something good. It's just it ended up, you know, not being that. Now, this ranking, just like a lot of my other ones, even with the quality of movies we're talking about, still would move around a lot. Like I still had a hard time deciding what would go where. So this ranking could change. So who knows? Maybe we'll eventually come back to this ranking, but I'm not sure. Let's just get started, shall we? In last place, I got Morbius. Yeah, we got Morbius. So yeah, Morbius. Now the reason why this is last, because I know people have this one surprisingly high up. It seems like. It's because, to me, this was the one that was the most boring of them all. This is the one that I couldn't get very much enjoyment out of. I mean, I walked out thinking, that was alright. I mean, it had its moments, but for the most part, I was kind of just bored. And even though I do think it is actually a better made movie than some of the other ones we're going to talk about, it's the one I still had the least enjoyment of. Once again, I thought this one honestly had the most potential out of all of these movies to be something awesome. I mean, if you really think about this concept of this guy who's dying of an illness that there's no cure for is doing everything in his power to find it because he knows that he's not the only one dying from this. So he eventually thinks he finds a cure with vampire bats, but it ends up turning him into a vampire. So while the human side of him doesn't want to hurt people, he wants to help people, he wants to save lives. The vampire side of him just doesn't care about any of that. It just wants to feed. It just wants to eat. It doesn't care who it kills to survive, and it outright wants to kill people. And the concept of this guy having to battle this darkness within him to keep the vampire away, that way he doesn't hurt anybody. Like maybe he has to try to figure out a way to feed the vampire, that way he can survive, but while also keeping people safe. Could have been a very interesting idea. Plus, if you really want to throw in an antagonist, his best friend Milo, I think his name was, can still have his side plot where you could have it be kind of similar to what it was, but better, where like he also takes this serum just because he wants to be healed. He doesn't care what it takes to be healed. But unlike Dr. Michael Morbius here, who's trying his hardest to fight off the vampire, that way people don't die, Milo on the other hand doesn't care if people die as long as he survives, so he lets the vampire take over and just go out killing people to survive. And so you have this and then you can eventually have this battle between Morbius and Milo, and they don't really do that. Also, I'm not someone who's like, because I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, well, this movie would have been so much better if it was rated R. Oh, this should be rated R to make it better. I very rarely see that. This is the movie that I think an R rating could have benefited. They could have leaned more into the horror of it, with this being a vampire movie, or at least it's trying to be, it's supposed to be, whatever. It's about a vampire. They could have leaned into the horror, and there's a lot of times where he would drink artificial blood, which felt very obvious that they were just doing it to keep the rating PG-13. Meanwhile, if they had it be an R rating, he could have just drank pure red blood and had it be, you know, like a normal vampire, and it wouldn't feel censored like it kind of did with him always drinking the artificial blood. So this is like the movie that I think could have actually benefited from an R rating, but they decided to go PG-13. Is what I don't understand why they picked Kraven for R and then this for PG-13. But you know, we're not talking about Kraven yet. But yeah, so I think this had the most potential out of them all. I personally think, and yeah, this ended up being the least enjoyable one. Confession: I don't think I've actually rewatched it. I should have before recording this, but I just didn't have the want to. So I can't do much more about it. So yeah, it's okay. It had so much potential, and I don't think we're ever gonna get another Morbius movie. I don't think we're ever gonna get a sequel. I don't think we're ever gonna get a reboot. But I would love to see this get rebooted because I think there's so much potential here. I would love to see someone else take a crack at it and probably do an amazing job making a great Morbius movie. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who might be thinking that. But oh man, there's so much potential, and it just didn't live up to it. And it ended up being the least enjoyable. Even though it is actually way better made, in my opinion, than the one I have next up on the list. Because next up on the list, I have Madam Web. I don't think Madam Web's not actually in this game, so I'm just going to go with Spider-Woman, I guess. Oh, man, Madam Web. Yeah, this movie is probably the one that people seem to trash on the most of the when it comes to the Sony Spider-Verse films. The Sony spin-off films. And for good reason. This movie's not very good. Like, I still had some fun with it. To me, it was one of those movies that it's bad enough that it's good, that it's fun. Did I ever give it a rewatch since seeing it in theaters? No. Again, probably should have before making this ranking, but I just didn't have the want to. But I think this had potential too. I honestly think, I wonder what ever happened to that original plot. The original plot that leaked, that was our villain trying to kill a pregnant Mary Parker because he wants to kill Spider-Man, and he thinks that this is the best way to do it, is to go Terminator style on him. Whatever happened to that plot? Instead, they changed it around so that this guy has a vision of the future where 3 Spider-Women kill him, and so he's trying to kill. So I guess he's got like some sort of super smart supercomputer. He's able to have that find out who they are. Despite the fact that they should be looking completely different because it's how many years will have passed, but they look exactly the same. So I guess it's not that hard. But still, there's so many people in the world. He's somehow able to find them, and he's gonna hunt them down and try to kill them. Madam Web, because she's the hero, will protect them, and they don't even. It's funny how they promoted the movie too with their suits, showing the suits in trailers and in posters and stuff like that, and yet there's like one shot of them in their suits. They don't have their superpowers or their suits till one shot in the final couple of seconds of the movie. And the ADR in this movie is just terrible. That, to me, the ADR is so bad in this movie and so noticeable that that's what kind of makes it funny. Because I swear, the villain of this movie, whose name I can't even remember, I don't think he has any dialogue that's not ADR. Like, I think they changed everything in his dialogue, because there are multiple times where his mouth is moving, but the words we're hearing don't line up with his mouth at all, and you can tell, and it's like every single time he talks. It is so bad, but that's kind of what makes it kind of enjoyable, which is one of the reasons why I have it above Morbius, because at least I had fun with this one in the theater. To me, it's kind of like Batman and Robin, because to me, Batman and Robin is so bad that it's fun. Like, I had a good time watching that movie because of how bad it was. To me, this movie is kind of like that, which is why I have it above Morbius. But I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again. I mean, maybe one day I will. But, you know, I don't even know what else to say about the movie. It's just, the dialogue isn't great either. Even the non-ADR dialogue, you could tell, it kind of seemed like the actors didn't want to be there. It's so funny. In the interviews, you could tell Dakota Johnson hated that she took the movie. And I do think it's because, and I believe there were reports going around too that Sony tricked them into thinking that they were joining the MCU, you know, the big successful franchise that has multiple beloved movies, and they end up being a part of the Sony spin-off verse. So, like I said, I think this movie had potential. If they went with that original plot that was leaked, it would have been great. I think this could have been something fun. and they dropped the ball on it again. Once again, this movie, I don't think we'll ever get a sequel. I don't think it's ever going to get a reboot. Heck, I don't even think we're going to get another version of Madam Web on the big screen ever. And if we do, it won't be for like 10 years. But once again, I'd be okay with it if they were to give this movie a reboot and do another Madam Web movie, but with a better, I don't know, team working on it, because I think there's potential here that could make something good, and they just didn't. And once again, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who thinks that way. I'm pretty sure 99% of the world was like, why the heck are you taking this D-level Spider-Man character that only die-hard fans know about? Like, I don't think anybody knew who Madam Web was before this film, unless they were like die-hard Spider-Man comic book fan. Why are you taking this character and giving her a movie? I think it had potential, and they didn't follow up on the potential, but whatever, I guess. All right, next up, we have the most recent one, Kraven. I just had Kraven. Where'd he go? Ah, there he is. Kraven the Hunter. I think it's the actual name of the movie. They called it the Kraven the Hunter. This movie is fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Next up, no, I'm just kidding. I thought the movie was fine. To me, once again, this movie had so much potential. Kraven the Hunter is a great Spidey villain, and when they said they were making the movie, a lot of people were like, why is Kraven getting his own movie? I was like, that could be something good and interesting and fun. Didn't end up being that. Actually, it did end up being somewhat fun. That's why I have it above Morbius and Madam Web, because I did have the most fun with Kraven. Like, if you were to tell me I have no choice but to watch Madam Web, Kraven, or Morbius right now, I have to pick one of those three and there's no getting out of it, I'd probably go with Kraven. And the main reason for that is because of the action scenes. I thought the action scenes were fun. For some reason they decided to pick this one to be R-rated, which, okay, I think it did benefit, even though I didn't think it needed to be R-rated, because I feel like the R-ratedness of it is so spread apart, there's so little of it, that it would have been so easy to cut out the stuff that made it R-rated to make it PG-13. But I'll admit the R-ratedness did make the action scenes more fun. They were so brutal that it was just a blast. Aaron Taylor Johnson was I wasn't the biggest fan of. I'm not sure if he fits Kraven from the comics very well, but he's still a blast to watch on screen. So he made the. I do think he made the movie better. I do think if it was another actor, I think it would have been a little less fun. So there's that. But I also had the problem that whenever it wasn't an action scene, I was kind of just not into the movie. Like, I was kind of just sitting there waiting for the next action scene to happen. So when the action scenes happened, I was having a blast, and when the action scenes weren't happening, I was kind of like, oh, well. And of course, there's some bad ADR, not nearly as bad as Madam Web. There's not some bad dialogue. There's the story is not very well done. It feels like it's both messy, but also kind of simple. If that makes any sense, it probably doesn't. But yeah. So I thought this movie was fine. It's definitely not like the best, but that's why I like it more than Madam Web and Morbius. Morbius, I didn't get much enjoyment out of. I was kind of just bored throughout most of it. I didn't despise it. I just didn't have enough fun as I would like. Madam Web is just a bad made movie, but it's kind of bad enough that it was fun. That I had a good time watching it in the movie theater, but I don't think I'll ever rewatch it. Kraven, the action scenes are a blast. I could actually find myself rewatching just the fight scenes like on YouTube or something, but the actual movie, don't know if I'm gonna go back to rewatch the entire movie. But the action scenes and Aaron Taylor Johnson were enough to give me a good time. And now we get into the top three, because the top three, I actually really enjoy all three of these. Even a lot of people are like, well, they're still bad movies. Well, yeah, they definitely do have problems, they have flaws, but I still had a blast with all of them. And, well, you know what's left. That's the Venom films left. So now it's kind of just a ranking of the Venom trilogy. So here's my ranking of the Venom trilogy, pretty much, aka the top three in my Sony spin-off ranking. So to kick off the top three, I got Venom: The Last Dance. I found this movie to be a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. Now, I think most of the fun comes from the third act. That third act, in my opinion, is the best. It's awesome. It's so much fun just seeing all these symbiotes battle this monster. It was so much fun. A good portion of the humor did work for me, not all of it. There is some stuff in it that I think was just dumb. I'm gonna go into some light spoilers, so if you didn't see the film, you might want to skip to the next one. But I want to talk about some of the stuff. Like, there's a scene in this movie where we establish in the movie that Venom can't go full Venom form, or else this monster will be able to instantly find him. And we're kind of on this time crunch. It felt like, because we're constantly being hunted by this monster. So, but you know, that doesn't matter if we get to dance with Mrs. Chen. So even though it's extremely dangerous and it would be extremely stupid, he decides to go full Venom. That way he can dance with Mrs. Chen. And then guess what? That leads the monster directly to them, not only putting their own lives at risk, but putting Mrs. Chen's life at risk. That was stupid. Why would you do that, Venom? What the heck is wrong with you? Not to mention all those other lives could be in danger possibly. But no, it's worth it. It's worth it if multiple people, including yourself, die, as long as you get to dance with Mrs. Chen for no reason. Like, what? Why would you do that? Why? Not to mention, yeah, the people brought up the family. The family that they go with is just, like, pointless, and it kind of is. They didn't need to be in the movie as much as they were. But I'm not going to say that I hated them just because I didn't... To me, they were kind of like just there. I didn't hate them like some people did. I wouldn't say I loved them, but I didn't hate them. I didn't mind them. But yeah, like, still, the movie I thought was fun. All the action was fun. Tom Hardy is fun. Venom is fun. The final act is just a blast, and I loved it. Null... I didn't think Null was bad. I mean, he's literally... He does, I mean, technically he does set the plot in motion because he sends the monster after him, but he also does nothing. He just sits on his chair. So it's like, okay. It kind of felt like they were trying to tease Null, and they just, now we're probably never going to get Null. Maybe, we don't know for sure. Who knows? But, you know. And then, again, continuing with the spoilers, Venom does sacrifice himself at the end. Although technically he could still be alive because they did take a little portion of symbiote back at the bar. And I don't mean in the MCU universe, I do mean in this universe they did that. So technically he could still be alive, but Venom does sacrifice himself, and I thought it was done pretty well. It was well enough. It made me feel something, but it didn't, like, make me cry or anything like that. And they did, like, this whole flashback where they flash back to the previous two Venom films with the song Memories playing. And, again, I felt something, but it didn't bring any tears out. But still, I enjoyed the movie. I found this movie to be fun. It's not perfect by any means, but I had a good time with it, especially that third act. That third act. I could rewatch that third act multiple times, I think. The rest of the movie, we'll see. But that third act is a blast. Alright, next up, at number 2, I got Venom. That's right, the first Venom film, the first movie that started this entire franchise that people seem to hate, except for the Venom films. People seem to like that, at least this one. I've also seen a lot of people have this one as their number 1. I don't, we'll get to that. But I find this movie to be fun. It has its problems, sure. Like, for example, apparently the symbiote was just walking around for... I forgot how long the time jump was. They did a time jump, and the symbiote was still walking around this little girl's body. Like, why are you walking around in that little girl's body for so long? What? So, like, there's problems like that. I won't lie. There are a couple cringy moments too in the movie with, like, Tom Hardy getting into the pot of lobsters when he's first discovering the symbiote. Stuff like that. But I still had a good time with the film. I like this is, in my opinion, this is the weakest of the third acts in the 3 films, but I still really enjoyed the third act. I do think the movie was paced off. Like, I think the movie takes a bit too long to get to Venom, in my personal opinion. Like, to me, it felt like we were spending way too much time without Venom, and then but when Venom joins us, it becomes a blast, and a lot of the humor did work for me too. So yeah, the movie still also feels messy. It also kind of feels like they try to, like, put multiple tones into it. Like, there are times where they try to be serious, and then there are times where they go, like, really goofy. Also, I personally do prefer Venom as a villain, or at least starting as a villain. I do like me a good redemption story, so I do like Venom starting as a villain, and then eventually redeeming himself, becoming more of an anti-hero. This one, he's kind of just an anti-hero just to start with, which is okay. It's not bad. It's just I prefer him at least starting as a villain, and then maybe redeeming himself later.
Maybe I've been up here too long.
But yeah, I still enjoy the movie. But at number one, I have one that I feel like most people will disagree with. But at number one, I got Venom, Let There Be Carnage. To me, this is my favorite of the Sony spinoff verse. It is my favorite of the Venom films. I really enjoyed this movie, and the big reason why I think I enjoyed this one the most is because of Carnage. I think Carnage is a great villain from the comics, from other pieces of media, Spider-Man media, and we finally got to see him in live action on the big screen, something I've wanted for a long time, and we finally got to see it. Not the best version of Carnage. Woody Harrelson was a great choice to play Cletus Cassidy. This isn't the best version of Venom. They could have done a better version of Carnage. I mean, they could have done Carnage a bit better, but it's either this or nothing, and this was good enough for me to enjoy it, so I'll take this over nothing, I guess. I do kind of hope we get to see a different version of Carnage again. And so also something I do want to mention, when I first in my review, when this movie came back, I said how it was a stupid idea to kill off Carnage. Now that I see that we're supposedly done with the Venom films, at least that's what they said. They said Last Dance is the last one. I'm more okay with it because they're not going to continue. Personally, if they were going to continue the franchise, I think it would be stupid to kill off Carnage because he should definitely be around longer. However, because they decided to do 3 and be done, I'm a bit more okay with it now. Unless they just outright lied to us and we do eventually get a Venom 4, a Venom 5, maybe a crossover. Then I'll be like, oh, so you killed Carnage for nothing? But as of right now, with them telling us that we're done with Venom, I'm okay. I'm a bit more okay with it now. And the third act, again, I think this movie is another third act, especially 2 and 3, is awesome. Just seeing Venom and Carnage duke it out in the church. We get fights between Venom and Carnage. We even get fights between Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy. I almost called her Scream. I don't know why I'm blaming on her name, Screech. I don't know. I'll know it once this video is over. But whenever she gets to be in the fight too, it's a lot of fun. I found this movie to be a blast. That end credit scene though was super exciting at the time. Kinda sucks they just wasted it and pretended. It kinda sucks how they just wasted it. I remember it was super exciting at the time, especially with No Way Home right around the corner. I'm not sure if that aged very well. I mean, it's still kind of exciting to see Venom be looking at Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but it's not gonna mean anything, at least not anytime soon. Who knows? There's been rumors of Spider-Man 4 being Venom and Spider-Man, Tom Hardy and Tom Holland. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I found this movie to be the blast. I think this is the most fun of the Venom films. I think it's the most fun of the spin-off films, so to me it's number one. And this one, I actually would go back and rewatch, even if there are some, again, it's not perfect. The pacing is too off, it's a bit too fast. There's some dumb things in it, like how Carnage is able to hack a computer with his fingers. Like that, no, he can't do that. What? No. So, and other stuff like that. But also, I do want to point out, similarly to how I said Morbius could have, maybe even should have been rated R. Weird that they made Kraven rated R, but it did. But I was okay with it. Honestly, this one could have been rated R because depending on how because they did decide to go with a more goofy, silly tone. They obviously weren't gonna go rated R. But if they went with some versions of Carnage from the comic books, this could have been rated R, man. Could you imagine Carnage rated R? Like, they could make that a horror movie. They could make an R-rated Carnage horror movie, honestly, if they really wanted to. But yeah, thank you guys so much for taking time to watch. If you like this, I talked way longer about these movies than I thought I was going to. If you like this video, please hit like. If you want to see more, please hit subscribe. I'm doing a whole bunch of other rankings. I've also reviewed all of these movies except for the first Venom. The first Venom was before my YouTube channel. But all of the other films in the franchise actually have their own individual reviews. So if you want more in-depth thoughts, you might be able to find those. I don't remember if I did spoilers or not for those. Maybe didn't, but I might have. I don't know. But yeah, so Also, share your ranking down below. I feel like we're gonna disagree on a lot of things. I know not a lot of people think Let There Be Carnage is the best, and I think the majority of people agree that the top 3 are the Venom films, but the bottom 3 and the top 3 seem to change depending on the person. So let me know your ranking down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.